What's going on, everybody? Smitty from around the 412 here. And the Pittsburgh Steelers just got a shiny new toy. Jabrill Peppers, safety, signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is big, I think. This is a pretty big move. As big of a move as you could have at this juncture. I think there were a lot of people clamoring for the team to sign Jabrill Peppers even prior to Deshon Elliott's injury on Sunday. Once that happened, I think that really ramped up the conversation for Jabrill Peppers to become a Steeler. And I think once we saw that Jabrill Peppers was going to sign with the Steelers, a lot of people's mind, unfortunately, went to the worst in terms of Deshon Elliott and his health. But it doesn't sound like it's going to be anything long-term, even being put out as day-to-day by Ian Rappaport. Already rolled out for this upcoming game against the Seattle Seahawks, but he could return as early against the game against the Patriots, I guess, or Ireland. They have their bye following that Ireland game, so I do wonder, like, if it gets to the point where it's like kind of close, do you just hold him out there and give him obviously the extra time to recuperate? So we'll see. But Jabrill Peppers is a big signing. Plays both safety spots, plays the slot. Unlike Chuck Clark, I think has the athleticism to cover the post. So I think that's a big facet as well that he brings to the table. He plays special teams. I know it's kind of a cliche. Mike Tomlin used it as well, but he's just a football player first. Then you find a position for him to play. But he certainly falls into the bucket of guys that you can say that about. He's not entirely positionless. He's not going to go play outside corner or anything like that within this defense, but he can do a lot of different things. Super versatile player and just has the right temperament, I think, to play within this defense and what they're building right now. So at this juncture, I think, Jabrill Peppers was as good of a player and good of a fit as they were going to sign for what this team needed defensively, not only in the short term because of not having Deshon Elliott for a game or two or whatever it might be, but also just because like the necessary depth that is required at that position. I know a lot of people were super down on the Juan Thornhill thing to begin with. I commend Chuck Clark for what he came in and had to do on Sunday against the Jets. And if you're talking about just playing like around the line of scrimmage, I think he can certainly do some of that job. But again, he's not going to play, too high. He's not going to carry the post. He's not going to be able to cover in the slot in a way that Jabrill Peppers is able to. So I think this was a necessary move now and going forward this season. I am curious to see how the whole thing like shakes out once Deshon Elliott does come back into the fold. Like, somebody asked me, is Jabrill Peppers going to play on Sunday? I anticipate he's going to get a helmet, and we'll see what the role is. I think you got to find a way to work him in some way. Obviously, against New England the following week, I think you'll see him pretty much be a starter and play a lot by then. But, jumping on a moving train at this juncture, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly he can get acclimated and play against the Seahawks. I will say, maybe not a good thing for him year after year, but certainly a good thing for this situation now with the Steelers. He's played a bunch of different defenses for a bunch of different defensive coordinators. Like, there's not necessarily something that's going to be thrown at him, I don't think, that he's not going to be able to pick up on relatively quickly. So I think, it's just in terms of the terminology that's used here and how familiar he can get with it, because there's not like coverages or scheme stuff that I think that he hasn't already seen. So we'll see on that. But Jabrill Peppers is a Pittsburgh Steeler. I was calling for this for a while now. But like everybody else, I think once Deshon Elliott went down in that one, we were just thinking this just makes too much sense for this team to do right now. And again, one of those guys, like similarly to Jalen Ramsey, just kind of always felt like they should be a Pittsburgh Steeler, right? When you look at like just the way that he plays and the temperament that he has and always has had. So I'm excited about this. I think he's going to be a really good player and really good fit for what this defense wants to do and what they're going to ask him to do within this defense. Certainly I talked about it a lot more this week with Tyler on the Around the 412 Steelers show, but just want to put up something quick to talk with you guys. We'll see what number he wears too. Every number that he's worn so far in his NFL career is taken by somebody currently on the roster. 22, Juan Thornhill. 21, Chuck Clark. 3 is Corliss Waitman, and 5 obviously is Jalen Ramsey. So looks like he's going to be picking a new number. Jabrill Peppers. So we'll see what he goes with. That's just for me, though. I'm a big jersey number aesthetic guy. So we'll see how that shakes out. We'll see how quickly he can get acclimated. We'll see how much we see of him, if at all, assuming that he does get a helmet on Sunday. But excited for that. Keep up with all the discussion right here on Around the 412. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on all the socials at Around the 412. We'll see you next time.